Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to be talking about a partnership that is walking on a razor's edge, and that is the deepening military ties between the US and Taiwan. And believe me, this isn't just some regional issue. We're talking about something that could genuinely reshape global security as we know it. All right, so let's just dive right in. The entire situation really boils down to this one single question. And the answer? Well, it's all about a super delicate balance of power, deterrence, and yeah, the very real risk of sparking a massive conflict. And that's really the new reality we're breaking down today. The sources we're looking at make it crystal clear. This is not some minor policy tweak. We are talking about a rapidly evolving military partnership with massive implications for global trade, for diplomacy, really for security across the board. Okay, so to really get why this is all kicking off right now, we've got to start at the beginning, the source of all this tension. Think of the region as a kind of military pressure cooker that's just getting hotter. Now, the main thing driving all of this, according to what we've reviewed, is a huge spike in military activity from China. And look, we're not just talking about routine patrols here. These are being described as aggressive maneuvers, specifically designed to intimidate and to really test Taiwan's defenses. And here's where we get into the nitty-gritty. What are we seeing? Well, we're talking large-scale naval drills. We're talking frequent, almost constant air incursions into Taiwan's defense zone. It's exactly this kind of direct, relentless military pressure that's forcing Taipei to look for stronger, more reliable security partners. So all that pressure, it's really forcing a fundamental shift in the whole US-Taiwan relationship, pushing it way beyond what it used to be. And this really captures that evolution perfectly. You can see the relationship has morphed from something pretty simple, just transactional defense sales, selling weapons, into what our sources are calling a long-term security partnership. What does that actually mean? It means deeper integration, it means shared strategic goals, and way, way closer cooperation. So, okay, what does this new partnership actually look like on the ground? It's not just one single thing. It's really built on three major interconnected pillars. And these three areas, they're really the backbone of this whole alliance. You've got the new arms deals, so the advanced hardware. You have joint military exercises and training. And then there's the intelligence sharing and cybersecurity collaboration. Each piece of this puzzle is designed to systematically boost Taiwan's ability to defend itself. This table here, which is drawn right from our source material, lays it all out really clearly. And what I want you to notice is the direct line from the development to the strategic impact. So selling advanced missile systems and F-16s, that isn't just a sale. It's about enhancing deterrence. These joint exercises, they're not just for practice. They build something called interoperability, which is just a fancy word for making sure their forces can work together seamlessly when a crisis hits. Right, so none of this is happening in a vacuum, not at all. Both Washington and Taipei have super clear strategic goals in mind. So let's break down what each side is really trying to get out of this. For Taiwan, it's all about one word: deterrence. The strategy isn't necessarily to win a war outright. Instead, the idea is to make the cost of any potential attack so incredibly high in terms of lives, equipment, and international reputation that Beijing just looks at the price tag and decides, nope, not worth it. Now, for the United States, this whole thing fits into a much, much bigger picture. It's about maintaining the balance of power in the Asia-Pacific. It's about countering China's expanding influence. And really crucially, it's about reassuring key allies like Japan and South Korea that the US is still a deeply committed player in the region. But of course, a move this big doesn't go unanswered. Beijing absolutely sees this growing partnership as a direct challenge. So a response from them, it's not just likely, it is pretty much guaranteed. And the sources we've looked at are really clear about this. Beijing does not see this as a defensive move by Taiwan, not at all. They view it as a direct provocation, a red line being crossed. And they've already started issuing some pretty sharp diplomatic warnings. So what's their response going to look like? Well, it'll probably come from multiple angles. The source material points to a kind of three-pronged strategy. First, intensify their own military drills. Second, use even sharper diplomatic warnings. And third, possibly even hit them with targeted economic measures. Okay, let's zoom out for a second, because this whole dynamic doesn't just involve Washington, Taipei, and Beijing. It sends ripples across the entire Asia-Pacific, and you can bet that every single nation in the region is watching this play out very, very closely. And this whole situation brings us to a classic concept in international relations known as the security dilemma. And honestly, it perfectly explains what's going on here. Here's how it works. Actions that one country takes to increase its own security, like the US and Taiwan are doing, are seen as a threat by another country. So China responds by building up its military, which in turn makes Taiwan and its allies feel even less secure. And just like that, you're caught in a dangerous, escalating cycle. And those effects, they just keep rippling outwards. You've got neighboring nations like Japan and South Korea who now have to completely recalibrate their own strategies. You have members of ASEAN, these Southeast Asian nations, stuck in this really complex diplomatic balancing act. And the big picture result? The entire region becomes more tense, more on edge, and there's a real risk of increased military posturing from everyone involved. So at the end of the day, what this all comes down to is this incredibly precarious balancing act. It really is a pivotal moment. It's a high-stakes tightrope walk where the goal is deterrence, but the risk is escalation. Because in this kind of situation, what one side sees as defense, the other sees as a direct threat. It's that simple and that complicated. And that leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? Does this growing partnership actually succeed in deterring aggression? Or does it just end up triggering an even more dangerous cycle of escalation? The answer to that is going to define the future of stability in one of the world's most critical regions. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.